Daniel Reed didn't even make it to the porch light. He was halfway up the cracked concrete steps when he heard it, his mother's voice thin and shaky, breaking in the dark. Then came a second sound, a man's low hiss, angry and close, followed by the scrape of a chair across old linoleum. "Sign it, Mom, just sign it," someone said. And when Daniel pushed the front door open, quiet, slow, the way you do when you don't want to wake the neighbors, he saw his older brother with one hand clamped around their mother's wrist, and the other hand forcing a pen toward her trembling fingers. Can you imagine walking into your childhood home at midnight and finding the person you grew up trusting, hurting the one person who never stopped loving you? What would you do? Freeze, scream, or do something you can't take back? Tell me in the comments what you'd do and where you're watching from tonight. And if you're new here, hit subscribe so you don't miss stories like this. Now stay with me until the end of this story, because what Daniel saw in that kitchen was only the beginning, and the truth behind it would drag this family into a reckoning nobody was ready for. Evelyn Reed wasn't just Mom. She was the kind of woman who made miracles out of leftovers, who brewed coffee before sunrise, who kept a little blue coffee tin on the highest shelf, full of letters and small memories she couldn't throw away. She'd spent her whole life holding people together. And now, in the harsh yellow light over the sink, she looked small, cornered, and afraid. She lived in Port Mason, a small coastal town in North Carolina, where salt air clings to porch railings, and everyone knows what time the church bells ring on Sunday. Evelyn had raised her boys in this same weathered house through hurricanes, layoffs, and the long years after their father died on a construction site when Daniel was 12. She cleaned motel rooms in the mornings, waited tables at the diner on Highway 12 at night, and still came home to stretch one pot of beans into 2 meals, humming hymn. When the boys were little and they fought over something small, she'd kneel between them and say, "Baby, anger is loud, but love is steady. Pick what you want to be remembered for." Then she'd make them hold hands until the heat in their faces cooled down. Daniel's stomach dropped. Travis stood over her like a shadow. 38, broad shoulders, unshaven jaw, eyes too bright and too empty at the same time. Evelyn sat at the kitchen table, her gray hair clipped back, her nightgown wrinkled like she'd been grabbed in a hurry. On the table, papers were spread out like a trap. A bottle of her heart medication lay on its side, little white pills scattered among the forms. Next to them was her worn Bible, still open, as if she'd been reading for comfort before someone took that comfort away. "Travis," Daniel said, his voice low. Travis jerked his head toward the door, startled. For half a second his grip loosened. For half a second Evelyn's eyes met Daniel's, and in them was a plea so quiet it made his throat tighten. "Danny?" she whispered. Daniel took 2 steps inside. The air smelled like stale coffee and damp wood, the same smell it had when he was a kid. Only now it carried something bitter underneath, like fear. "Let her go," Daniel said. Travis swallowed, then his face twisted into something defensive. "Oh, look who decided to remember he has a family." Daniel didn't blink. "Let her go." Travis laughed, but it came out wrong. "You don't get to walk in here and act like some hero. You don't know what it's been like." Evelyn tried to pull her hand back. Travis tightened again. She winced. Daniel saw a red mark on her wrist, the shape of fingers. That was it. Daniel moved fast. He crossed the room, grabbed Travis's forearm, and yanked him away from their mother. The chair screeched. Papers slid. Pills rolled off the table and clicked against the floor. "Don't touch her," Daniel said through clenched teeth. Travis stumbled back, shocked, then angry. "You put your hands on me?" "You put your hands on her," Daniel snapped. In her own house. Evelyn's breathing was quick, shallow. She pressed a hand to her chest like she was trying to calm her heart. Daniel glanced at the pills on the floor and felt a flash of panic. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked, softer now. She nodded too fast, like she was trying to protect them both. I'm fine, honey." Travis's eyes flicked to the forms. She was going to sign. "We had an understanding." Daniel looked down. He didn't need to be a lawyer to recognize the words, "power of attorney," in bold. Beneath that were spaces for names, dates, witnesses. "An understanding?" Daniel repeated. "You call this an understanding? You're squeezing her wrist. You knocked her meds over. You're cornering her." Travis threw his hands up. "I'm trying to keep us from losing this house. You know how behind she is? You know what the bank said?" Evelyn flinched, not because of the bank, but because she'd heard this tone before. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Even if the bills are bad, you don't threaten her. You don't scare her." Travis's voice rose. "And you don't get to judge me from your safe life in Charlotte. I've been here. I've been stuck with all of it." Evelyn whispered, "Please, both of you." Daniel's chest ached. He hated that he'd let things get to this point. But guilt wasn't going to protect his mother tonight. "You need to leave," Daniel said. Travis blinked. "Excuse me? Not forever, not like that," Daniel said, nodding toward Evelyn. "But not tonight. Not after what I just saw." Evelyn gasped softly. "Daniel!" Daniel turned to her, the anger dropping from his face. "Mom, I can't let him stay here right now. I won't." Travis's mouth fell open in disbelief. Then he sneered. "So that's it. The golden boy shows up and starts making rules." Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice so it landed like a warning. "If you put your hands on her again, I'll call the police. I mean it." For a moment, the kitchen went so quiet Daniel could hear the old refrigerator humming. Then Travis looked away first. He grabbed his keys off the counter, sweeping a stack of mail onto the floor as he did. Envelopes fluttered down, some stamped "Final Notice" in red. Evelyn reached out like she was going to pick them up, but her hands were shaking too much. Travis paused at the door. "You think you're better than me," he said, voice tight. "You think money makes you righteous." Daniel didn't answer because he didn't trust his mouth. Travis slammed the door so hard the glass in the window rattled. Evelyn let out a sob she'd been holding in her chest. Not loud, just one broken breath, like air escaping something stretched too far. Daniel moved to her side and knelt beside the chair. He took her hand gently, careful of the tender skin. "I'm here now," he said. "I'm sorry." Evelyn wiped her cheek with the back of her hand, embarrassed. "You're home," she whispered. "That's what matters." Pfkin, but Daniel looked at the scattered pills, the threatening letters on the floor, the papers on the table, and he knew home wasn't just a place you visited. Home was something you defended. He reached up to the highest shelf and pulled down the little blue coffee tin. It was dented on one corner, the lid scratched from years of use. As a kid, he'd watched his mother open it like it was treasure. Tonight, when Daniel opened it, one small envelope sat on top, newer than the rest. His mother's handwriting was on the front. "Daniel." His throat tightened. "What's this?" Evelyn's eyes darted toward it, and then away. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just something I wrote. For later." "Later when?" Daniel asked. Evelyn forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "When the Lord decides it's time." Daniel held the envelope like it was suddenly heavy. And that was when he understood. This wasn't just one ugly argument. Something had been happening in this house while Daniel was away. And if he didn't uncover the whole truth, he might lose his mother for good. Daniel sat across from Evelyn and slid the papers away from her, like he was clearing space for her to breathe. "Tell me everything," he said. Evelyn stared at the stain in the wood from years of hot plates and spilled coffee. Her lips trembled. Outside, the wind pushed through the pines. Somewhere down the road, a dog barked once and went quiet. And Evelyn began to talk, slowly at first, about fear, about debt, about secrets, and about how a family can fall apart right in the same rooms where it once laughed. But Daniel still didn't know the darkest part. He didn't yet know what Travis had been doing when nobody was watching. And he didn't yet know that the next thing he found wouldn't be in a bank statement. It would be hidden in plain sight, inside the blue tin he'd held as a child. And once he saw it, he would never look at his brother the same way again. Daniel didn't sleep. He lay on the old couch and listened to the house the way you listen to a person you love when you realize they've been hiding pain. Pipes ticking, the refrigerator humming, the wind tapping a loose shutter like a warning. After 2, he went back into the kitchen barefoot. The linoleum was cold enough to sting. He picked up Evelyn's scattered pills one by one and dropped them into the bottle. He stacked the mail he'd gathered from the floor, Past due notices, property taxes, a final warning stamped in red. Evelyn sat at the table in her robe, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had gone lukewarm. Her shoulders looked smaller than they had when he arrived. "You should be in bed," Daniel said. "So should you," she murmured. He sat across from her. "Mom, how long has this been going on?" Evelyn stared at the wood grain, like it had answers. "Since last winter," she said quietly. "When the diner cut my hours, then the motel. They replaced me." Daniel's chest tightened. "Why didn't you call me?" Evelyn's eyes lifted, glossy. "I did." He froze. "What do you mean you did?" "For months," she said, voice thin. "Calls, messages, letters. Travis said you were busy. He said you didn't want me bothering you." Daniel's mouth went dry. He grabbed his phone and scrolled fast, like he could undo time with his thumb. There wasn't what she was describing. Not months, not desperation. "I didn't see them," he whispered. Evelyn reached across the table and touched his hand. Her palm was warm, rough, real. "I know, baby. But when you're alone in a quiet house and your own son tells you you've become a burden, you start to believe it." Daniel swallowed hard. On the counter, the dented blue coffee tin sat like a witness. The envelope with his name was still tucked under the lid. "If this already hit you, tell me in the comments. Have you ever had someone twist the truth between you and a person you love? And stay with me, because what Daniel discovered next would prove it wasn't just hard times. It was manipulation. Daniel slid the power of attorney papers away from Evelyn, keeping his voice steady. "Why did he want you to sign this?" "He said it was for my protection," Evelyn replied. "That I shouldn't deal with banks at my age." "Did you sign anything?" Evelyn's jaw tightened. "No, not tonight." He wouldn't stop pushing. Daniel nodded, fighting the urge to run outside and drag Travis back by the collar. He remembered something his mother used to say when he was little and angry. "Anger is loud, but love is steady. Pick what you want to be remembered for." "Tell me about the money," Daniel said. "Where did it go?" Evelyn hesitated, shame flickering across her face. At first it was rent, then his truck, then, "Mom, I'll lose everything if you don't help me." "How much, Mom?" Her voice dropped. "Enough that I started spacing my prescriptions. Half a pill some days." Daniel felt sick. "That could have killed you." Evelyn wiped her cheek. "I prayed. I asked God to carry me. I kept telling myself, this will pass." Daniel stared at her wrist again, the faint red marks. "Does anyone know? The church? Mrs. Larkin next door?" Evelyn shook her head quickly. "Port Mason talks." "I didn't want pity or shame." Daniel leaned forward. "Mom, I walked in and saw him hurting you. I can't pretend anymore." Evelyn's shoulders trembled. Then she nodded once. Daniel stood and carried the blue coffee tin to the table. "You wrote me something," he said, tapping the envelope. "Why?" Evelyn's eyes went distant. "Because I didn't know if I'd get another chance to say it." Daniel's throat tightened. "Can I read it?" She nodded. The handwriting was neat but shaky. "Danny, if you're reading this, you came home because your spirit knew something was wrong. I never blamed you. There is a key taped under the third drawer in my bedroom dresser. It opens the lockbox under the bed. Inside is everything I couldn't say out loud. I love you. Be steady." Daniel's heart hammered. "Show me." Evelyn moved down the hallway slowly, floorboards creaking. In her bedroom, a small lamp lit, framed photos. 2 boys on Halloween, Daniel in a graduation cap, their father smiling in a sun-faded picture by the porch. Evelyn pulled the third drawer open and reached underneath. Her fingers found the tape. She peeled a small brass key free and placed it in Daniel's palm. He knelt and slid his arm under the bed until his fingertips hit metal. He pulled out a small lockbox and set it on the rug. The key turned with a click. Inside were 3 things: a stack of sealed envelopes with Daniel's name and address, bound with a rubber band, a cheap prepaid phone, and a manila folder labeled in Travis's handwriting. Mom's stuff. Daniel's hands shook as he lifted the letters. They were all sealed, unopened, some dated months back. "You wrote me all these?" he whispered. Evelyn nodded, tears finally falling. "He said he mailed them. He said he took them to the post office. Daniel turned one envelope over. The seam was perfect, untouched. He picked up the prepaid phone and powered it on. The screen lit up. The inbox wasn't full of sent messages. It was full of drafts. "Danny, please call me. I'm scared. He's yelling again. I don't feel safe." Daniel's vision blurred. "Why didn't you use your regular phone?" Evelyn's voice broke. "He said the bill was too high. He took it, said he'd handle it." Daniel looked at the folder. His stomach warned him. His hand opened it anyway. Bank statements in Evelyn's name, drained down to almost nothing. Printed loan applications, and a page with Evelyn's signature that looked too smooth, too steady, too perfect. Daniel's blood went cold. He held it up. "Mom, did you sign this?" Evelyn shook her head hard. "No, I swear, I never signed that." Daniel stared at the paper, then back at her. This wasn't borrowing. This wasn't helping out. This was identity theft. And if Travis could forge her name, Daniel didn't want to imagine what else he could do. Daniel's phone buzzed in his pocket. A security alert. New login detected. Daniel opened the app, heart racing. The alert wasn't harmless. An unfamiliar device had been linked to his account, and an attempted transfer had only failed because his daily limit had been reached. Travis hadn't just been draining their mother. He'd been reaching for Daniel, too. Keeping his voice low so Evelyn wouldn't hear panic, Daniel called the bank's fraud line, froze the account, changed passwords, and turned on every extra security option they offered. When he hung up, he sat for a moment staring at the family photos on the wall. 2 boys with the same smile, before life taught one of them to lie. He went back to Evelyn's bedroom and knelt beside the bed. "Mom," he said softly, "Travis tried to get into my bank account tonight." Evelyn's face went pale. "Oh, Danny, listen to me," Daniel said, steady. "You did nothing wrong. I'm not here to punish him. I'm here to protect you, and I'm going to do it with proof." He helped her take the right dose of her medication, tucked the quilt around her, and waited until her breathing slowed. Then he returned to the kitchen and photographed everything in the lockbox: the sealed letters, the bank statements, the suspicious documents. He didn't want rage to drive him. He wanted facts. At first light, Daniel walked next door and knocked on Mrs. Larkin's door. When she opened it, her eyes widened like she'd been hoping he'd come. "Daniel Reed," she whispered. "Thank God." "Mrs. Larkin," Daniel said, "I need you to tell me the truth. What have you seen?" Her mouth tightened, more than I wanted to. Inside her living room, a radio murmured morning news. The air smelled like peppermint tea. Mrs. Larkin leaned in, voice low. "I've heard him yelling at your mama," she said. "I've seen her standing outside in the rain like she didn't know if she was allowed back in. And one night, late, 2 men came by, not from around here. They carried something wrapped in a blanket out of the house and into a black pickup." Daniel's stomach dropped. "Did you get the plate?" Mrs. Larkin nodded and pulled a folded grocery receipt from a drawer. A license number was scrawled in shaky ink. Daniel took it carefully. "Thank you." Mrs. Larkin's eyes filled. "Your mama came to my door once, crying. She said Travis told her if she opened her mouth, you'd never come home again." Daniel's jaw clenched. So Travis didn't just steal money. He used Daniel as a weapon. Daniel's phone buzzed again. Another alert. This time from an old family email account Evelyn used for bills. Password changed. Recovery phone updated. Daniel stared at the screen, cold spreading through his chest. Someone was locking them out on purpose. Daniel breathed in slowly, tasting salt on the morning air through Mrs. Larkin's screen door. He heard distant church bells and, for a second, he wished his father were still alive, just to tell him what a father is supposed to do when one son becomes a threat to the other. And you, what would you do right now? Call the police immediately, or wait, gather more proof, and risk being too late. As Daniel pocketed the receipt, a familiar engine rumbled somewhere nearby. Travis's truck. Travis's truck rolled past Mrs. Larkin's window like a warning that didn't need words. Daniel didn't rush back inside. He stayed on the porch a second, letting the morning air slow his breathing. Rage would feel good for 5 minutes. Proof would protect his mother for years. He walked home with the grocery receipt folded in his fist. The house looked the same from the street, peeling paint, a wind chime clicking, a porch swing that still creaked the way it did when he was a kid. Normal. Safe. Inside he heard Evelyn in the kitchen, humming under her breath the way she always did when she was trying not to fall apart. The smell of coffee clung to the curtains, mixed with the faint dampness of old wood after a night of coastal fog. She was at the sink, washing a plate that was already clean. "Mom," Daniel said gently, "you okay?" She nodded, eyes tired. "I'm fine, honey. I just keep thinking I should have done something different." Daniel took the plate from her hands. "The only thing you did was love your sons," he said. "That's not a crime." Evelyn's lips pressed together. "Sometimes love makes you blind." Daniel glanced toward the window. The rumble he'd heard was close. "Can you do me a favor?" he asked. "Pack a small bag, your medicine, your Bible, a sweater, just in case?" Her face tightened. "Are we leaving?" "Only if we need to," he said. "I want you safe." Evelyn nodded and moved down the hallway, slow and quiet, like she didn't want to wake the past. While she packed, Daniel's mind kept replaying the last 2 years. The promotions in Charlotte, the long meetings, the clean apartment with the silent walls. He told himself he was building a future. He'd sent money when he could. He'd called on Sundays, sometimes, and every time Travis answered and said, "Mom's resting," Daniel had believed him, because believing was easier than asking harder questions. Now, standing in his mother's kitchen, he realized something that made his stomach drop. The distance between him and Evelyn hadn't just happened. Someone had built it, brick by brick, with lies. Daniel opened his camera and started documenting everything again. Past due notices, dates, the power of attorney papers, the manila folder. He saved copies to a cloud drive. He wrote down the fraud case number, county clerk, adult protective services, doctor, lawyer. Then he pulled the blue coffee tin closer and touched it with his fingertips, like a promise. He was halfway through when the front door slammed open. Travis stormed in, boots wet, smelling like cigarettes and cheap cologne. He saw Evelyn step out with a small duffel bag and his eyes narrowed. "What's that?" Travis snapped. "Just my things," Evelyn said, gripping the strap. Travis lunged one step toward the bag. "Give me that." Evelyn pulled it back to her chest. The movement was small, but it was the first time Daniel had seen her resist him. Daniel's voice stayed low. "Don't touch her." Travis's eyes flashed. "Oh, now you're her bodyguard?" "Nobody's kidnapping anyone," Daniel said. "Mom can stay with me if she wants." Travis laughed without humor. "She doesn't want to stay with you. She wants to stay here, with the son who actually shows up." Evelyn flinched. "Travis, please." Daniel didn't bite at the insult. Unopened letters. A prepaid phone full of messages you never let her send. Paperwork she says she didn't sign, he said. "Explain that." Travis froze for a beat, then smoothed his face. "She's confused," he said. "You know how she gets." Evelyn's voice rose, shaky but firm. "I am not confused." Travis snapped his head toward her. "Mom, you don't understand this stuff." "I understand when someone grabs my wrist," Evelyn said. "I understand when someone tells me I don't matter." The kitchen went quiet. Daniel watched Travis's jaw work like he was chewing his rage. Travis stepped closer to Daniel, lowering his voice. "You want to do this in front of her? You want to stress her out? Great job." Daniel held his ground. "If you cared about her stress, you wouldn't pressure her to sign documents at midnight." Travis's eyes flashed. "I'm trying to save this house." "Oh, by stealing her mail?" Daniel asked, pulling up the withdrawals on his phone and turning the screen toward him. "By draining her account?" Travis looked away. "Bills." "Explain the loan applications," Daniel said. Travis shook his head like Daniel was naive. "You don't know anything about working-class life. You sit in your office and judge." Daniel forced the heat down in his chest. "You hurt her," he said. "That's all I need to know." Travis's face changed. "Calculation." He turned to Evelyn and softened his tone like flipping a switch. "Mom, I'm sorry if you felt pressured. I worry about you," he said, then looked back at Daniel. "You know Danny gets dramatic. He sees things." Daniel felt his stomach twist. He was trying to make Evelyn doubt her own reality, right in front of her. "And you," Daniel said quietly. "What would you do if someone tried to convince your mother she couldn't trust her own memory?" Daniel opened a drawer and pulled out a small voice recorder Evelyn used to play hymns. He placed it on the table. Obvious. Travis's eyes snapped to it. "What's that?" "Insurance," Daniel said. "From now on, conversations about money happen with a record." Travis's nostrils flared. "You're really doing this?" "I am," Daniel replied, "because I'm done guessing." Travis's gaze flicked to the towel hiding the lockbox. Daniel saw it. That hunger. That fear. Travis reached out fast, and Daniel caught his wrist midair. Travis jerked like he'd been burned. "Don't," Daniel said, quiet and hard. Evelyn whispered, "Lord, help us." Travis yanked his arm back and tried a different angle. "Fine. Here are facts," he said. "The taxes are behind. The power company sent a shut-off notice. You think your little tin of letters changes that?" Daniel blinked. "Taxes, I believe," he said slowly. "But mortgage? I thought Dad paid this house off." Travis's eyes flickered. Evelyn looked up, confused. "We did pay it off," she said. "I finished it. I kept the receipt in my Bible." Daniel felt the room tilt. "Then why would there be a mortgage now?" Travis swallowed. "Because Mom refinanced," he said, stumbling. "For the roof." Evelyn frowned. "No, I didn't," Travis snapped, voice sharp again. "Yes, you did. You just don't remember." Daniel's hands went cold. Travis wasn't just borrowing money. He may have put the house at risk. Daniel said, careful, "What's the lender's name?" Travis didn't answer. Daniel stepped toward the drawer where Evelyn kept old papers. Travis moved fast to block him. "Don't!" Travis warned. Daniel's eyes locked on his brother's. "Move." Travis didn't. Daniel pulled Mrs. Larkin's receipt from his pocket and set it on the table beside the recorder. The license plate number was written in shaky ink. Travis's eyes widened. "Where did you get that?" "So you do recognize it," Daniel said. Evelyn stared at the receipt. "What is that, Danny?" "Someone came here late at night," Daniel said softly without taking his eyes off Travis. "And I think you brought them." Evelyn's face went pale. She sank into the chair like her legs forgot how to hold her. Travis exploded. "That old woman is spying," he shouted, then slammed his fist on the table. The recorder jumped. Evelyn flinched and clutched her chest. Daniel's heart lurched. "Mom!" Her breathing went quick, shallow. She fumbled for her pill bottle. Travis froze, panic flashing. He stepped forward. "Mom, breathe!" Daniel blocked him. "Back up!" Daniel got the pill into Evelyn's palm, brought water, guided her through slow breaths until her color returned. He kept his voice steady, the way Evelyn used to keep hers when the boys fought. "In through the nose," he murmured. "Out slow. That's it." When Evelyn finally nodded, exhausted, Daniel turned back to Travis with a new kind of cold. "If this part already hit you in the chest, seeing a mother struggle to breathe because her own child can't control his anger, please pause for a second and tell me in the comments. Should Daniel call the police right now, or keep collecting proof so Travis can't slip away? Because that's the choice he was making in real time. Daniel pulled his phone from his pocket and quietly sent one text to his closest friend in Charlotte, a lawyer named Jenna Park. "I need emergency advice. Possible elder abuse. Fraud. Call me ASAP." Then he slid the phone face down on the table, keeping his eyes on Travis. He wasn't going to threaten. He was going to act. "If you raise your voice at her again," Daniel said, "I will have you removed from this house. Do you understand?" Travis's eyes were wet now, but not with remorse. "You think you're a savior," he muttered. "You don't know what you're stepping into." "Then tell me," Daniel said. "Tell me everything." Travis stared at him, then gave a humorless laugh. "You want the truth?" he said. "Fine. The truth is, Mom signed more than you think, and if you try to fight it, you'll burn with her." Daniel's blood turned to ice, because either Travis was lying to scare him, or he was admitting something that could destroy them all. A car door slammed outside. Heavy footsteps crossed the porch. Then 3 hard knocks hit the front door, like whoever stood there had every right to be in Evelyn Reed's house. The knocking wasn't polite. It was the kind of knock that said, "We're done waiting." Daniel held up a hand to keep Evelyn seated. Her breathing had steadied, but her eyes were wide, fixed on the front door. Travis stood near the hallway, shoulders squared, trying to look in control even as sweat shone at his hairline. Daniel opened the door just enough to see who stood outside and kept the chain latched. 2 men filled the doorway. One wore a windbreaker with a company logo Daniel didn't recognize. The other was bigger, thick neck, shaved head, hands shoved into his pockets. Both looked past Daniel, scanning the dim house like they were measuring what could be taken. "Evelyn Reed?" the man in the windbreaker asked. Daniel didn't answer. "Who are you?" The man flipped open a folder. "Howard Mills, Tideway Capital Services. We need to speak with Ms. Reed." "About what?" Howard didn't blink. "A delinquent obligation secured against this property. Ma'am needs to sign an acknowledgement. If she refuses, we proceed." Evelyn's voice floated from behind Daniel, small and scared. "Danny, what is he talking about?" Daniel kept his body between her and the door. "My mother isn't signing anything tonight." The bigger man stepped closer to the crack. His breath smelled like mint and cigarettes. "We'll wait," he said. "But you don't want us coming back later. People get embarrassed." His voice wasn't even that loud, but in a small town, night carries sound. Daniel saw a porch light blink on across the street. A curtain moved. Somebody was watching. Evelyn heard it too. Daniel felt her step closer behind him, and he pictured her tomorrow at church, shoulders hunched, hearing whispers in the pews. In Port Mason, shame spread faster than rainwater. Daniel's jaw tightened. "You're not threatening her?" Howard lifted his hands, fake calm. "Nobody's threatening anyone. This is business." Behind Daniel, Travis cleared his throat. "Danny, it's fine. I'll handle it." Daniel didn't look back. "No, you won't." Howard's gaze flicked past Daniel, landing on Travis for half a second. Recognition. A silent exchange that made Daniel's stomach turn. Daniel raised his phone and turned on the camera. "Say your name again for the record." The big man's eyes narrowed. "Don't record me." "Then step off the porch," Daniel said. Howard hesitated, then slid a business card through the gap. Daniel took it. Tideway Capital Services. A Wilmington address. Howard pushed a thick envelope after it. "Courtesy copy of the notice," he said. 10 business days." The big man leaned closer, eyes hard. "And tell her to stop playing holy," he muttered, like he'd heard her prayers through the walls. "God doesn't pay balances." Evelyn made a small sound, half gasp, half sob. Daniel's voice went quiet and dangerous. "Get off my mother's porch." Howard cleared his throat, suddenly eager to leave the camera. "We'll return," he said, and they walked down the steps like they owned the street. As their car backed out, Daniel caught the plate. It matched Mrs. Larkin's scribble. He shut the door, locked it, and set the envelope on the table. His hands were calm. His heart wasn't. Evelyn stood hugging her duffel bag like a life preserver. "Danny, I don't understand. I never borrowed—" Daniel turned to Travis. "Those men know you. Their car matches the one that came here at night. And they said the debt is secured against this house." Evelyn whispered, "We don't have a mortgage." Travis's mouth tightened. "It's complicated." "No," Daniel said. "It's either fraud or theft, or both." Travis slammed his palm on the counter. "You think I wanted this? You think I woke up and decided to ruin Mom's life?" Evelyn flinched. Daniel kept his voice steady. "Lower your voice." Travis let out a rough laugh. "You don't get to tell me how to talk." "In her house," Daniel cut in. "Not yours." Evelyn's voice trembled. "Travis, did you do something with the house?" Travis looked at her, then softened his tone like flipping a switch. "Mom, it was for us, for repairs, for groceries, for you." Evelyn's chin lifted. "Then why did you need me to sign something at midnight?" Travis's face hardened. "Because you don't listen during the day." Daniel opened the envelope. Notice of default, a loan balance, a lien recorded against the property. The signature, Evelyn Reed. Evelyn stared at it like it was a snake. "That's not my handwriting," she whispered. Daniel flipped to the payment history. A few deposits, then nothing. "Travis," he said quietly, "where did the money go?" Travis's voice rose. "Bills, lights, food. You weren't here." Evelyn's eyes filled. I would have told Danny. Travis pointed at Daniel. He has no idea what it's like to be stuck here drowning while he lives his perfect life. Daniel breathed in slowly. The air tasted like burned coffee and old grief. You weren't drowning, he said. You were pulling her under with you. Travis stepped closer, jaw clenched. Watch your mouth. Daniel didn't move. Tell me who Tideway is. Travis's eyes flicked toward the window, then away. It's handled. They just threatened my mother on her porch, Daniel said. That's not handled. Evelyn sank into the chair, whispering, Lord. Evelyn's fingers clutched the edge of the table. Danny, she said, voice barely there. This isn't the first time. Daniel's head snapped toward her. What do you mean? Evelyn swallowed, shame rising in her face. 2 weeks ago, it was raining. Cold rain. I'd gone to the church pantry to help Reverend Collins pack boxes, and when I got home, the door was locked. Travis was inside. I knocked and knocked. He yelled through the door that I needed to learn my place. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Mom, I stood on the porch in my slippers, she whispered. The water ran down my back. The wind kept blowing the porch swing. Mrs. Larkin's light came on across the street, and I just stood there like I deserved it. Daniel's hands curled into fists. Why didn't you tell me? Evelyn's eyes filled. Because he said you wouldn't believe me. He said you'd choose him. Or you'd leave and never come back. Daniel crouched beside her. Mom, look at me. None of this is your fault. Do you hear me? She nodded, shaking. Daniel stood and faced Travis. Give me your phone. Travis blinked. What? Unlock it and show me your messages with Tideway, Daniel said, recording again. If you have nothing to hide, you won't mind. Travis scoffed. This is insane. What's insane is you grabbing her wrist and calling it family, Daniel said. Daniel picked up the business card and dialed the number on speaker, keeping the camera running. It rang twice. A woman answered, bright and rehearsed. Tideway Capital, Account Services. Daniel spoke clearly. I'm calling about an alleged lien against 114 Cedar Bay Road, Port Mason. I need the account holder's name and the original application date. There was a pause. Too long. Sir, for privacy reasons, I'm the son of Evelyn Reed, and I'm looking at paperwork with her forged signature, Daniel said. I'm reporting fraud. Give me the account contact name. Another pause. Then, softer. The contact on file is Travis Reed. Evelyn's hand flew to her mouth. Travis's face went pale. Hang up, he snapped. Daniel didn't. So you admit the account contact is Travis, but you're serving my mother, he asked. The woman's voice turned careful. Ma'am is listed as the borrower. She says she never applied, Daniel said. I want the recorded call, the notarization, and the identity verification on that file. Now, sir, you can submit a request in writing. Daniel ended the call and stared at Travis with a silence that felt louder than shouting. Evelyn's voice broke. You used me. Travis snapped back. I kept you in this house. Stop, Daniel said, loud enough to cut through him. You controlled her. Evelyn wiped her face and whispered, God sees everything. Travis looked down at his hands, jaw tight, then shook his head like he was trying to shake something off. You don't know who you're messing with, he muttered. Who? Daniel asked. Travis's eyes flicked to the street. They don't just take houses, he said quietly. They take people. Evelyn gasped. Daniel's voice went cold. Then we leave. Now. Evelyn reached for her Bible, then paused at the blue coffee tin. She pulled out an old photograph, her younger self holding 2 little boys, both grinning. On the back, faded ink, My miracles. Her fingers trembled around it. This is all I ever wanted, she whispered. Daniel slid the photo into her bag. We're going to protect your miracles, he said. And you, if your own brother dragged criminals to your mother's doorstep, would you still try to save him? Or would you choose your mother and let the consequences fall where they may? As Daniel guided her toward the hallway, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Payment missed. We'll come inside next time. Daniel's blood ran cold, because the threat wasn't coming from his brother anymore. It was coming from the people Travis had invited to their doorstep. And the worst part? Daniel was starting to realize Travis might not be the only one in this house keeping secrets. Daniel didn't let the fear in that message settle in his chest. He turned it into motion. "Mom, shoes," he said, guiding Evelyn toward the hallway. "Coat, keys." Evelyn moved like she was underwater, clutching her duffel and her Bible. The house felt suddenly smaller, like the walls were listening. From the living room, the old clock ticked louder than it ever should. Travis followed them, jaw tight. "You're not taking her," he said. Daniel kept walking. "She's coming with me." Travis stepped into the hallway and planted his boots wide, blocking the path. "She's my mother, too." "And you're hurting her," Daniel replied. His voice was quiet, but it didn't wobble. Evelyn's hands trembled around the strap of her bag. "Travis, please don't," she whispered. "Just, please." Travis's eyes flicked to her bag, then to the lockbox Daniel had tucked under his arm. "Give me that," he snapped. Daniel's grip tightened. "No!" Travis lunged. Daniel didn't swing. He didn't shout. He simply shifted his body between Travis and Evelyn, and in one smooth motion, he pulled his phone up and dialed 911 with his thumb. Travis froze when he heard the call connect. "911, what's your emergency?" Daniel spoke clearly. "I'm at 1-14 Cedar Bay Road, Port Mason. My mother is elderly, and there's been physical intimidation and possible financial fraud. I need an officer here now." Travis hissed. "Hang up." Evelyn's face crumpled. "Danny, I don't want trouble." Daniel looked at her, softening for 1 second. "Mom, trouble is already here," he said. "I'm just naming it." Within minutes, blue lights washed through the curtains, turning the kitchen into a slow, flashing storm. 2 deputies walked up the porch steps. One was older, with a thick mustache and a tired look, like he'd seen too many family arguments end in nothing. The other was younger, hand already resting near his belt. Daniel opened the door before Travis could. "Evening," the older deputy said, scanning Daniel, then the hallway behind him. "We got a call about a domestic." Daniel nodded. "Yes, sir, I'm Daniel Reed. That's my mother, Evelyn Reed. My brother Travis has been pressuring her to sign legal documents, and he grabbed her wrist tonight. There's also an alleged lien against this house, and I believe her identity was used without consent." Travis appeared behind Daniel, posture suddenly calm. "Deputy Garrison," he said warmly, like they were old friends. "This is a misunderstanding. My brother flew in and started accusing everybody of crazy stuff." Deputy Garrison's eyes flicked between them. "Ma'am?" he asked gently, stepping past Daniel. "You all right?" Evelyn's voice was thin. I'm tired." Travis moved closer to her. "Mom, tell him you're fine. Tell him Danny's overreacting." Daniel's stomach clenched at how practiced the words sounded. Evelyn looked at the deputies, then at the floor. The shame was all over her face, heavy and old. Daniel saw her about to fold, the way she had always folded to keep peace. He stepped closer and spoke softly, as if reminding her of herself. "Mom, you don't have to protect anyone tonight. Just tell the truth." Evelyn swallowed. Her eyes lifted to Deputy Garrison. "He grabbed me," she whispered, "and he scares me sometimes." Travis's head snapped toward her. "Mom!" Deputy Garrison held up a hand. "Travis, give us space." Travis laughed once, sharp. "You're kidding." The younger deputy stepped forward. "Sir, step back." Travis took 1 step back, but his eyes stayed locked on Evelyn, like he could pull her words back into her mouth if he stared hard enough. Daniel set the lockbox on the kitchen table and opened it. He showed Deputy Garrison the unopened letters, the prepaid phone, the documents. He played 2 of the draft messages from Evelyn to Daniel, her voice breaking as she begged for help. Then he held up the forged signature page. Deputy Garrison's mustache twitched. "Ma'am, you recognize this?" Evelyn shook her head. "That's not how I sign." Travis's face went tight. "She's confused. She forgets things. She's on medication." Daniel turned, calm. "Her doctor can confirm her capacity, but intimidation and financial exploitation don't require her to be perfect to be real." The younger deputy looked at Travis. "Sir, do you have any documentation showing she consented to this loan or gave you authority?" Travis's eyes flicked away. "It's in my room." Daniel felt a surge of cold. "No." he said immediately. No one's going digging through this house alone. Not him. Not tonight. Deputy Garrison nodded slowly like he was weighing the mess. Ma'am? He asked. Do you want to leave with your son? Evelyn's eyes filled. She glanced at Travis, then at Daniel. The air held still, waiting. Yes, she said. I do, Travis exploded. Are you serious? He pointed at Daniel. He comes in here for one night and suddenly I'm the villain? Deputy Garrison's voice hardened. Travis, calm down. Travis paced, hands on his head. I've been the one here. I've been the one paying with her money, Daniel said. Travis spun. You don't know what you're talking about. Daniel didn't flinch. Then explained Tideway Capital showing up and threatening her. Deputy Garrison frowned. Tideway came here? Daniel nodded. 10 minutes before I called you. They served a default notice and implied they'd come inside next time. The younger deputy's expression shifted. That's not normal for a civil debt. It's not civil, Travis muttered under his breath. Daniel heard it. What did you just say? Travis's eyes darted. Nothing. Daniel stepped closer. Travis, look at me. What did you get mixed up in? Travis's chest rose and fell fast. For a second his anger cracked and something like fear showed through. Then he covered it again with hostility. You can't fix this, he said. You think you can come in with your big city confidence and just fix it. Daniel's voice stayed steady. I can't fix what you did, he replied. But I can stop you from hurting her again. Deputy Garrison cleared his throat. All right, here's what we're doing tonight. Ms. Reed is leaving with her son. Travis, you're staying here. No contact with her until this is sorted out. If I get another call, we're not just talking. Travis looked at Evelyn, face twisting. Mom, he said, softer now, almost pleading. Don't do this to me. Evelyn's eyes shone, but her chin lifted. You did this, she whispered. Not Danny. That sentence landed like a door closing. Daniel helped Evelyn put on her coat. The fabric looked too big on her, swallowing her shoulders. She tucked the old photograph, My Miracles, inside her Bible, like she needed to carry proof of her own love. At the doorway, Daniel paused and looked back at Travis. The boy he remembered flashed in his mind. Travis at 16, standing beside their father's casket, promising, I'll take care of Mom. Travis teaching him to throw a baseball. Travis laughing on the porch swing. Daniel wanted to reach for that memory and drag his brother back to it. But then he saw Evelyn's wrist again in his mind, the red marks, and he kept walking. Outside, the night air hit like cold salt. Fog hugged the street. The flashing blue lights painted their shadows long and strange across the lawn. As Daniel guided Evelyn toward his car, his phone buzzed. Jenna, he answered, keeping his voice low. Jenna. Daniel, she said, urgent. I got your text. Listen carefully. Do not leave her alone with him again. Tomorrow morning you file for an emergency protective order. You also call Adult Protective Services and the county sheriff's investigator, and you freeze her credit, not just yours. If there's a lien, we need the recorded deed and the notary details. Daniel exhaled, grateful just to hear someone talk in steps. Okay. And Daniel, Jenna added, if he forged her signature, there's a chance he forged other things. Wills, beneficiaries, medical directives, anything. Daniel's stomach tightened. He looked at Evelyn sitting in the passenger seat, clutching her duffel like it could keep her safe. I found a letter in her tin, he said. She wrote it like she was saying goodbye. Jenna went quiet for a beat. Then treat this as time-sensitive, she said. People who pressure elders like that escalate when they feel control slipping. Daniel's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He already brought collectors to the house. Then you don't go back there alone, Jenna said. You understand me? Daniel nodded. I do. He hung up and started the engine. The headlights cut through the fog, turning it into a pale wall. Evelyn's voice was small. Where are we going? Daniel didn't want to lie. He also didn't want to scare her. First, he said, we're going somewhere safe. Reverend Collins has a room at the church. He'll take us in for a night. Then tomorrow we handle the legal parts. Evelyn swallowed. The church. He knows you, Daniel said, and he won't let anyone near you. Evelyn nodded slowly, then whispered, God's house feels safer than mine right now. Daniel pulled away from the curb. In the side mirror he saw Travis on the porch, arms crossed, face half hidden by shadow. Deputy Garrison stood nearby, watching him. Daniel turned a corner, and that's when he noticed the second set of headlights. Far back. No rush. Just following. Daniel's pulse picked up. He checked again. The car stayed with him through the next turn. And in his gut, he knew exactly who it was. Not a neighbor. Not a lost tourist. Someone Travis had called. Because the moment Travis lost control of Evelyn, he would try to get it back. Daniel's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. A photo message. It was a picture of the front of Evelyn's house, taken from across the street, and beneath it, 2 words. We see you. Daniel didn't answer the message. He didn't need to. Whoever sent it wanted one thing, for him to feel alone. He kept his eyes on the road and his hands steady on the wheel. Port Mason's streets were quiet at that hour, the kind of quiet that usually feels peaceful, until you realize it can also hide footsteps. The fog rolled in from the water and blurred the streetlights into soft halos. Behind them, those headlights stayed at the same distance, patient and sure. Evelyn clutched her Bible on her lap like it was a shield. "Danny," she whispered, "are we being followed?" Daniel glanced in the mirror again. The car's shape was hard to make out, but the way it moved wasn't random. It matched every turn, every slowdown, every stretch of empty road. "Yes," he admitted, "but we're not stopping." He could feel his mother's fear like heat in the small car. He hated that she had to feel it at all. She had survived grief, poverty, 2 jobs, and a lifetime of worry. She should have been sleeping in her own bed, not watching shadows chase her through town. Daniel took the next turn early, down a side street lined with pines and quiet houses. The headlights followed. He turned again. They followed again. "Okay," Daniel murmured, more to himself than to Evelyn. "You want us to know you're there." He pulled into a gas station that stayed open all night because truckers liked the coffee. Bright fluorescent lights flooded the lot. A security camera hung over the door. 2 men in work boots stood near an ice cooler, smoking and talking low. Daniel parked directly under the camera and left the engine running. The follower car slowed as it passed the station. For a second, it looked like it would keep going. Then it looped, rolled into the lot, and stopped 2 rows away, headlights still on. Evelyn's breath caught. "Lord!" Daniel raised his phone, pretending to check messages while he recorded video. The glare made it hard to see faces, but he caught the make, the color, and a partial plate. He zoomed in until the pixels broke, then saved the clip anyway. He didn't get out. He didn't give them a scene. Instead, he called Deputy Garrison's number. He'd seen it on the card the deputy had handed him after the call. It rang once, twice. "Garrison," the deputy answered, voice groggy. "Deputy, it's Daniel Reed," Daniel said. "I'm taking my mother to Reverend Collins at Harbor Light Church. We're being followed right now. I'm at the Tide Mart on Bayview." Silence. Then the deputy's tone sharpened. "Stay in the lit area. Do not confront. I'm on my way." Daniel exhaled slowly. He turned to Evelyn and tried to smile. "We're okay. We're in the light." Evelyn nodded, but her hands shook around the Bible. "I keep thinking, how did my own child bring this to my door?" she whispered. Daniel's throat tightened. "I don't know yet," he said, "but we're going to find out." The follower car didn't move. It just waited, like a cat that knows the mouse has to come out eventually. 2 minutes later, a patrol car rolled into the lot, lights off but unmistakable. Deputy Garrison stepped out, buttoning his jacket. The follower car's engine started immediately. It backed up and pulled toward the exit. "Hey!" Garrison called, but he didn't chase. He walked to Daniel's window instead, calm and controlled. "You all right?" Daniel nodded. "They've been behind us since Cedar Bay." Garrison leaned in and glanced at Evelyn. His voice softened. "Ma'am, you're safe?" Evelyn swallowed. "Thank you." Garrison straightened and looked toward the road where the follower had disappeared. "You got video?" Daniel showed him the clip. Garrison watched, jaw tight. "Not enough for an arrest," he said, "but enough for me to take this serious. I'll follow you to the church." Daniel's shoulders loosened for the first time that night. He nodded. "Thank you." As they drove, the patrol car stayed behind them like a shield. The church appeared through the fog. Harbor Light Church, a modest building with a white steeple, a small parking lot, and a sign out front that read, "Welcome Home." Reverend Collins was already outside, coat over his pajamas, hair messy, face lined with worry and kindness. When Evelyn stepped out of the car, he walked to her immediately and took her hands as if she were family. "Miss Evelyn," he said warmly, "come inside. You're safe here." Evelyn's eyes filled. "Reverend, I'm sorry to come at this hour." He shook his head. "No apologies, not for seeking safety. God never asks us to suffer in silence." Daniel carried the duffel and the lockbox into the church. The building smelled like lemon cleaner and old hymnals. The sanctuary lights were dim, but a small lamp glowed in the hallway, casting a gentle circle of warmth. Reverend Collins led them to a little office with a couch and a narrow cot. "It's not fancy," he said, "but it's quiet. You can rest." Evelyn sat, still clutching her Bible. Her shoulders finally dropped, as if the walls themselves allowed her to breathe. Deputy Garrison stayed at the doorway for a moment. "Daniel," he said, lowering his voice, "tomorrow you file your reports. You hear me? Adult Protective Services, fraud, everything. Don't wait." "I won't," Daniel promised. Garrison nodded and left, his footsteps fading down the hallway. Reverend Collins turned to Daniel. "I've seen Travis slipping," he admitted quietly, "but I didn't know it was this." Daniel stared at the church's small cross on the wall. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" The Reverend sighed. "Your mother protected you. And Travis, he has a way of making people believe the story he wants. He'd say, 'Daniel's busy. Don't bother him.' Folks here didn't want to interfere." Daniel swallowed hard. Interfering would have saved her. Reverend Collins nodded, eyes heavy with regret. "Maybe, but we're here now. And we'll do what's right." After Collins left to bring extra blankets, Daniel sat on a folding chair outside Evelyn's office and listened to the church settle. The building creaked softly. Somewhere, a heater clicked on. The sound reminded Daniel of the old pressure cooker at home. Steady, always working until the steam built too high. His phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "This church won't save you." Daniel's stomach dropped. He looked through the hallway window at the parking lot. In the fog, a car sat near the far edge, lights off, engine maybe running. He stood up slowly. "And you? What would you do? Call the deputy again and risk escalating? Or stay quiet and let them think you're scared?" Daniel chose neither. He walked to the front door, flipped on the exterior floodlights, and stepped out just far enough to make himself visible beneath the bright white glow. He held his phone up, recording. He didn't speak. He just stood there, letting whoever sat in that car know one thing. He saw them too. The car didn't move for a long moment. Then it rolled backward and disappeared into the fog like it had never been there. Daniel went back inside, locked the door, and leaned his forehead against the cool glass for a second. His hands were steady, but inside he was shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of what was coming. Near dawn, Reverend Collins brewed coffee in the small kitchen. The smell filled the hallway, warm and familiar. Evelyn slept in fits, waking once to whisper a prayer, and then drifting off again. Daniel didn't sleep. He sat at the table and made calls, one after another, writing everything down like a man building a bridge across a storm. At 8, Jenna called back. "I'm emailing you forms," she said. "Protective order, credit freeze instructions, and Daniel, get the deed history today. County records don't lie." Daniel drove to the county clerk's office as soon as it opened. Reverend Collins staying with Evelyn. Deputy Garrison met Daniel in the parking lot, not as a friend, but as a witness. Inside, the clerk's office smelled like paper and stale air. A woman behind the counter looked up, bored, until she heard possible elder fraud and forged deed. Then her face shifted into something cautious. Daniel gave the address. "I need every filing on 114 Cedar Bay Road," he said. The woman typed, clicked, frowned. "There's a recent transfer," she said slowly. Daniel's heart thudded. "To who?" She printed a page and slid it across. "A quitclaim deed," she said. "Recorded 6 weeks ago. Grantor, Evelyn Reed. Grantee, Tideway Holdings, LLC. Daniel felt the room tilt. That's impossible, he whispered. She never… Garrison leaned over the paper, eyes narrowing. Notarized, he read. Name's right here. Daniel's throat went dry. The notary was local, a Port Mason name, and at the bottom, in ink that looked too smooth to belong to his mother, was Evelyn's signature. Daniel stared at it until his vision blurred, because this wasn't just a loan anymore. They had already taken the house, and if they could take the house, what else could they take next? Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from Travis. You can't hide her forever. Daniel's stomach clenched as he stared at the words, because somewhere between last night and this morning, Travis had stopped pretending, and Daniel knew the next move wouldn't be paperwork. It would be personal. Daniel stared at the quitclaim deed until the letters stopped being ink and became a threat. 6 weeks ago, while he'd been answering emails in Charlotte, while he'd been telling himself, I'll visit next month, while he'd been trusting Travis to help Mom, someone had filed away his mother's home like it was just another piece of paper. Deputy Garrison tapped the page. This seal means somebody certified she signed in front of them. Daniel's voice came out tight. She didn't. Then we treat it like fraud, Garrison said, and we treat it like it's organized. The clerk slid another printout across the counter. Commission number, notary name, filing details. Daniel stared at the signature line again. Too smooth, too clean. Not his mother. Outside, the winter sun felt cold on his face. His phone buzzed with Travis's message. You can't hide her forever. Daniel didn't answer. He typed one line in his notes instead. I'm staying. No more distance. He called Jenna. They recorded a quitclaim deed, he said. Tideway Holdings, LLC. Jenna's voice sharpened instantly. That's not late bills. That's title theft or coercion. You file an emergency protective order today. Freeze her credit, document injuries, and we interview the notary. Daniel looked down at the notary name printed at the bottom. Kara Bennett, Port Mason. She's local, he said. Good, Jenna replied. Local notaries don't like prison. Don't go back to the house alone. Back at Harbor Light Church, Reverend Collins met Daniel at the door. Evelyn's been praying, he said quietly, and asking about the house. Daniel swallowed. It's complicated, he admitted, but she's safe here. That's what matters first. Evelyn sat wrapped in a blanket, the old photo pressed to her chest. When Daniel placed the deed copy on the table, her face drained. No, she whispered. I believe you, Daniel said, taking her hand. But we have to move fast. Evelyn's eyes filled. I don't want Travis to go to jail. Daniel felt that familiar ache. His mother still trying to protect the son who broke her. He kept his voice steady. Mom, I'm not chasing revenge. I'm chasing safety. We can't pretend anymore. Deputy Garrison asked a few questions about the wrist, the midnight pressure, the locked porch, the missing calls. Evelyn answered in short, shaking sentences. Each one sounded like a door finally opening. Then Garrison asked, Do you feel safe with Travis in your home? Evelyn stared at the cross on the wall, then whispered, No. Daniel's chest tightened. Decision made. I want the protective order, he said. Evelyn flinched, then nodded, small. Okay, she whispered. Okay. By midday, Daniel had done what he never imagined he'd do to his own brother. He drew a line. He froze Evelyn's credit, locked down her accounts, gathered her documents, and filed reports. The blue coffee tin and the lockbox were no longer memories. They were evidence. That afternoon, Reverend Collins drove them to the small clinic on Bay Street. The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee from an old machine in the corner. Evelyn kept rubbing her wrist as if she could erase the mark by touching it. Daniel didn't let her minimize anything. She was grabbed last night, he told the doctor, and she's been spacing her medication because money disappeared. The doctor's expression tightened. He photographed the bruising for the chart, checked her blood pressure twice, and adjusted her prescriptions. Ms. Reed, he said gently, you don't carry this alone anymore. If there's abuse or exploitation, we document it and we report it. Outside, Evelyn's voice shook. I feel ashamed. The shame belongs to the one who did it. Daniel said. Not you. Back at the church, an adult protective services worker arrived. Marissa, warm but direct. If Travis realizes he's losing control, he may escalate, she warned. Save every message. No private meetings. As if on cue, Daniel's phone buzzed. Travis. Daniel answered on speaker, keeping his voice calm. Where is she? Travis demanded. She's safe, Daniel said. You're making this worse, Travis snapped. You don't understand what's happening. Then explain Tideway, Daniel replied. Explain the deed. A rough breath. They're not a bank, Travis admitted. They're not normal. How did you meet them? Daniel asked. Silence, then Travis's voice, smaller. I needed money. For what? Daniel pressed. After the accident I couldn't work, Travis said fast. Bills stacked up. Then it got bigger. They said it was temporary. They said if Mom signed, they'd back off. And when she didn't? Daniel asked. Travis's anger flashed. Then they said they'd take everything. You think I grabbed her because I wanted to? I was trying to stop them. Daniel closed his eyes for a beat. Hurting her isn't protection, he said. Travis's voice dropped into a plea. Just bring her to the house for 10 minutes. One signature and it ends. Daniel's stomach turned. No. Then you're choosing war, Travis hissed. Daniel looked through the office door at Evelyn clutching that old photo, praying like she could hold the family together with faith alone. Forgiveness mattered, but forgiveness without boundaries was just surrender. I'm choosing Mom, Daniel said quietly. And I'm choosing the truth. Travis went silent, then stabbed one last sentence into the line. You always were Dad's favorite. He hung up. Daniel stood there, phone in hand, feeling the sting even though he knew it was meant to cut. When he walked back inside, Evelyn searched his face. Is he lost? She whispered. He's scared, Daniel admitted. But being scared doesn't give him the right to hurt you. Reverend Collins rested a hand on her shoulder. We can pray for him, he said softly. And we can still keep you safe. And you, what would you do if the person who hurt your mother called crying, claiming he was protecting her? Would you forgive first or protect first? Daniel already knew his answer. Before dinner, Deputy Garrison escorted Daniel back to Cedar Bay Road to collect a few essentials, Evelyn's winter coat from the closet, her medical records, her late husband's death certificate. They didn't stay long. Daniel kept his camera running the whole time. The living room looked disturbed, like someone had searched drawers in a hurry. On the kitchen table, the power of attorney papers were gone. So was Evelyn's pill bottle. Garrison's face tightened. He's cleaning up, he murmured. That means he knows. Daniel's jaw clenched. Then we move faster, he said. Late afternoon, Jenna arrived from Charlotte in person. We're confronting the notary, she said. On record. They drove to a small strip mall where a sign read, Seaside Shipping and Notary. Inside, it smelled like cardboard and printer ink. A woman behind the counter looked up, polite smile ready. Kara Bennett? Jenna asked. Yes, Kara said. How can I help you? Jenna placed her card down. I represent Evelyn Reed. This deed was notarized 6 weeks ago. She slid the copy forward. Do you recognize your seal? Kara's smile slipped. Yes. Did Evelyn Reed appear in person with valid ID? Jenna asked. Kara hesitated, then forced a nod. Yes. Daniel watched her fingers tap the counter, fast, nervous. He glanced up at the security camera in the corner. Jenna followed his look. Great. Then we can match your answer to footage. What day and time was she here? Kara's mouth opened and closed. Jenna kept her tone calm. What ID did she present? Her driver's license, Kara said quickly. Daniel's voice stayed controlled. My mother hasn't had a valid license in years. Kara went pale. Jenna leaned in slightly. Ms. Bennett, here's the truth. If you notarized a forged deed, that's a felony. If your seal was used without you understanding what was happening, you're a victim too. But guessing won't help you now. Kara's eyes shimmered. She swallowed hard, glancing toward the back room like she expected someone to appear. Daniel's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He didn't open it, but the preview flashed. Last chance. He looked at Kara. My mother was grabbed in her own kitchen last night, he said quietly. People followed us to a church. This isn't paperwork. This is danger. If you know anything, say it now. Kara's voice broke. Travis brought her. Daniel felt ice slide through his veins. Jenna's eyes narrowed. Explain. Kara wiped at her cheek, trembling. He said she was tired. He said she didn't want to deal with lawyers. He said he just needed to manage things. Was she coherent? Jenna asked. Barely, Kara whispered. She looked out of it. Did you witness her sign? Jenna asked. Kara shook her head slowly, shame flooding her face. No, he brought it back later. He had copies of everything. And he kept saying if I didn't help, people would come after him. Daniel's stomach turned. Tideway. Kara flinched. Jenna pulled out her phone. Repeat that in a recorded statement, she said, voice steady. Slowly, clearly. Kara nodded, crying now. Okay, she whispered. Okay. And as Jenna started recording, Daniel realized something worse than the deed itself. Travis hadn't acted alone. He'd been terrified of someone powerful enough to scare a notary into breaking the law, which meant the real fight wasn't just brother versus brother anymore. It was Daniel versus the machine Travis had fed his mother into. And the machine was still hungry. But what Daniel didn't know yet was that while he was locking Kara into the truth, Travis was making his next move, one that would force Daniel to choose, right now, between justice and mercy. And that choice would change everything. Daniel stayed close to Jenna while Kara Bennett gave her recorded statement, voice shaking as she repeated the same facts 3 different ways. Dates, times, what Travis said, what she saw, what she didn't see. Jenna asked careful questions, slow and plain, the kind that left no room for later excuses. When Kara finished, she looked at Daniel like she wanted forgiveness from a stranger. I'm sorry, she whispered. I thought I was helping a family. You were helping the wrong person, Daniel said, not cruel, just honest. Now help my mother. Kara nodded. Jenna had her sign the statement. Deputy Garrison took copies. With every signature, Daniel felt the ground shift under Tideway's feet, just a little. Daniel's phone buzzed again. The unknown number lit up the screen. Last chance. Jenna saw it. Don't reply, she said. Save it. They drove back toward Harbor Light Church. Halfway there, Reverend Collins called, voice tight. Daniel, Travis is here. At the church? In the parking lot. He's yelling. He says he has a right to see her. Keep her inside, Daniel said. Lock the doors. I'm 2 minutes out. When Daniel pulled into the lot, Travis was pacing near the entrance like a man who hadn't slept. His truck sat crooked across 2 spaces. 2 church ladies stood nearby, whispering, eyes wide. Deputy Garrison arrived behind Daniel. Travis spun toward the patrol car, anger and relief mixing in his face, like he'd wanted witnesses. You've got to be kidding me, Travis shouted as Daniel stepped out. You brought cops to a church now? Daniel kept his voice level. I brought protection for Mom. Travis jabbed a finger at the door. Tell her to come out. I just need 10 minutes, 10. No, Daniel said. Travis's chest rose and fell. Danny, listen. Tideway is going to ruin all of us. If you don't let me fix this, They already did, Daniel cut in. They stole her house. Travis froze for a split second. That's not real. Jenna got out and held up the deed copy. It's real, she said. Recorded and notarized. And the notary just signed a statement that you brought your mother in and returned later with documents she did not sign in front of her. Travis's eyes widened.
Kara talked. Daniel saw fear flicker. Fear of the people behind Tideway. Deputy Garrison stepped forward. Travis Reed, you are not to contact Ms. Evelyn Reed directly. If you step past that door, you will be trespassing. If you escalate,
you will be arrested. Travis laughed. Wild. Trespassing? That's my mother. And this is her church, Reverend Collins said from the doorway, calm but firm. She asked to be left alone. Travis's face twisted. She didn't ask for anything. You're all poisoning her against me. Daniel took one slow step closer, hands open. Travis, he said, tell me the truth. Who are they? Travis's jaw clenched. You don't want to know. I do, Daniel replied, because Mom deserves to sleep without fear. Travis swallowed. And for the first time his anger cracked. "They said it was easy money," he blurted. "After I got hurt I couldn't work. I got behind. They offered cash. Then the debt grew. They said it changes owners. It never ends." Jenna's voice stayed calm. "So you used your mother's identity?" Travis shook his head fast. "I didn't want to, but they threatened me. Then they threatened her. They showed me pictures of the house. They knew everything." Daniel's stomach tightened. "And you thought grabbing her wrist was the answer?" Travis's eyes darted away. "She kept saying no." Reverend Collins whispered, "Lord." Daniel's voice stayed steady. "You made her afraid of you." Travis's mouth tightened. "Fine," he snapped. "Tideway wants one more signature, an acknowledgement. If they don't get it, they'll come with a crew and throw her things on the curb in front of everyone. That's what they do." Daniel's phone vibrated. A new message preview flashed. "Friday, 9 a.m. Eviction crew." His throat went dry. Jenna nodded once. "Then we stopped them with evidence and an emergency injunction." Travis barked a bitter laugh. "They don't care about legal. They care about shame." Daniel looked at Garrison. "Can we get an emergency hold?" "We'll try," Garrison said grimly. "But we need fraud proof tied to names." Jenna turned back to Travis. "Then cooperate now. Names, messages, payments. If you don't, you're choosing Tideway over your mother." Travis's eyes flicked to the church door. "Let me see her," he pleaded. "Just let me tell her I'm sorry." Daniel hesitated. Sorry can be a doorway or it can be another trap. He looked at Reverend Collins, who nodded toward the doorway as if to say, "Let her choose." Daniel called softly, "Mom?" Evelyn appeared in the doorway, wrapped in her coat, Bible held tight. She looked older in daylight, the kind of older that comes from carrying too much. Her eyes landed on Travis and filled. "Mom?" Travis whispered, taking one step forward. Garrison lifted a hand. "Stop." Travis stopped, swallowing. I didn't mean—" Evelyn's voice was soft, but it cut clean. "You meant what you did," she said. "You just didn't think anyone would see." Travis flinched. "I was scared." "So was I," Evelyn replied. "And you made it worse." Tears slid down Travis's cheeks. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking. "I thought if I could just get the papers done, it would end." Evelyn's hands trembled around her Bible. "When you were little," she said, "you hid behind my skirt when thunder hit. I held you and said, 'The storm passes. We don't become the storm.'" Travis sobbed once and wiped his face hard. Evelyn took a breath. "I forgive you for being afraid," she said, "but I cannot forgive you for hurting me and calling it love." Silence spread across the parking lot. Daniel felt his eyes burn. "Travis, you're going to give Jenna everything," he said. "Every message, every name, and you're going to step away from her until a judge says otherwise." Travis stared at Evelyn. "If I do, Tideway will—" Jenna cut in, calm and sharp. "If you don't, the state will." Garrison stepped closer. "Last chance. Voluntary cooperation, or we start arrests where we can." Travis's shoulders slumped. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone with trembling hands. "Okay," he whispered. "I'll show you." Inside Reverend Collins's office, Jenna recorded as Travis scrolled through burner numbers, cash transfers, and a contact saved as Howard, the same name from the business card. "They threatened you?" Jenna asked. Travis nodded, voice flat. "They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd make it look like an accident." Evelyn whispered a prayer under her breath. Jenna copied the messages. Garrison photographed the screen. Travis signed a voluntary statement, hands shaking so badly he could barely hold the pen. When it was done, Travis looked up at Daniel, eyes hollow. "Are you going to hate me forever?" he asked. Daniel stared at him a long moment. "I don't want to hate you," he said quietly. "But I'm done protecting you from consequences." Travis nodded once, like he'd expected that answer. As Garrison escorted Travis outside to arrange a formal interview, Jenna turned to Daniel. "We move tonight," she said. "Emergency injunction. Fraud report to the DA. And we keep your mother somewhere Tideway can't reach." Reverend Collins nodded. "There's a small parsonage behind the church," he offered. "Separate entrance. Quiet. I can keep the lights off and the door locked. Evelyn's shoulders sagged with relief and grief at the same time. "I never thought I'd be hiding," she whispered. Daniel took her hand. "We're keeping you safe," he said. That night moved fast. Jenna filed emergency paperwork, and Garrison documented every threat Daniel had saved. In the parsonage, Evelyn sat at a tiny kitchen table with a single lamp on. The light made her look softer, less haunted. Daniel set the blue coffee tin in front of her like a promise that the truth would stay where they could see it. He opened the tin and pulled out the old photograph again, the one labeled "My Miracles." He placed it between them. "I should have come sooner," he admitted. Evelyn touched the edge of the photo with her fingertip. "You came when you could," she whispered. "But I should have spoken louder." Daniel shook his head. "You were silenced," he said. "That's not the same thing." Evelyn swallowed. "I keep thinking about Travis as a little boy," she said. "How sweet he was. How he used to bring me seashells from the beach and tell me I was a queen." Daniel's chest tightened. "He's still your son," he said, "and we can pray for his soul, but we won't hand him your life again." Evelyn nodded, tears slipping down. "I don't want him destroyed." "I don't either," Daniel said. "I want him honest." Outside, the night was quiet, but Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that quiet was just Tideway waiting. He checked his phone again. Friday, 9 a.m. If Tideway really showed up with an eviction crew, the whole town would see Evelyn's belongings on the curb. And shame was exactly what they used to make people surrender. So Daniel made another decision, one he'd never imagined making in Port Mason. He was going to shine light on it. "Mom," he said gently, "tomorrow I'm talking to the county investigator, maybe even the local news. I'm not letting them bully you in silence." Evelyn's eyes widened. "People will talk. Let them," Daniel said. Evelyn closed her eyes and whispered, "God, give us courage." Daniel's phone buzzed again. A voice message. He hit play. Howard's voice came through, smooth and calm. "Mr. Reed," Howard said, "Friday is still Friday. And if you think a church makes you untouchable, you're about to learn how wrong you are." Daniel's grip tightened on the phone, because now Tideway knew Daniel wasn't backing down, and the moment predators realize you won't fold, they stop whispering. They start acting. Friday morning came with a hard, pale light and a wind that smelled like salt and cold metal. Daniel hadn't slept. He sat at the little parsonage table with Jenna's laptop open, stacks of papers beside it, his phone charging, every screenshot and voicemail backed up in 3 places. Reverend Collins moved quietly in the next room, making coffee like a man trying to keep the world normal with small rituals. Evelyn sat wrapped in her sweater, fingers circling the rim of her mug. She looked at Daniel the way mothers look at their children when they know their child is carrying something heavy for them. "Danny," she whispered, "if they show up, please don't fight. I don't want you hurt." Daniel reached across the table and held her hand. "I'm not going to fight with fists," he said. "I'm going to fight with the truth." Jenna's voice came through the speaker from her laptop. She was on a video call with a county investigator named Rafael Ortega and a legal aid attorney who handled emergency housing cases. Daniel had never met them before this week, but desperation makes strangers into allies fast. "We filed for an emergency injunction based on fraud," Jenna said. "We have a recorded statement from the notary. We have threats. We have evidence of coercion and elder abuse. We need a temporary stay on any attempted removal." Ortega nodded, face serious. "I've seen Tideway's shell companies before," he said. "They target older homeowners. They pressure families into signing, then swap paperwork and record fast. They rely on embarrassment and confusion." Daniel swallowed. "They threatened to come with an eviction crew at 9. Ortega's eyes narrowed. "If they show up, do not engage alone. Call law enforcement. I'll have a deputy and an investigator in the area." Daniel checked the time. 8:42. A faint sound drifted through the window. Engines, distant, then closer. Multiple. Daniel stood and moved to the curtain, careful not to make a show of it. Through the thin fabric he saw headlights turning into the road near Cedar Bay. A white box truck, a pickup, another car behind them. He felt his pulse jump. "They're here," he said. Evelyn's breath caught. "Lord." Reverend Collins stepped into the room, calm but pale. "You stay here," he told Evelyn gently. "No matter what you hear." Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from Howard. "We're on our way." Daniel didn't reply. He forwarded it to Deputy Garrison and Ortega. Then the church phone rang. Reverend Collins answered, listened, and his face tightened. "Yes," he said firmly. "She is here. No, you cannot speak to her. If you come onto church property, you will be trespassing." He hung up and looked at Daniel. "They're coming to the church first," he said. "They want a scene." Daniel's stomach tightened. They wanted Evelyn in public. They wanted her to feel exposed, cornered, humiliated into signing something, just to make the eyes go away. Daniel looked at Evelyn. She was trembling, but she lifted her chin. "I'm not signing anything," she whispered, as if saying it out loud gave her strength. At 8:57, tires crunched on gravel outside. Daniel stepped into the entryway with Reverend Collins and Jenna. Jenna had a folder in her hand and her phone recording. Daniel's phone was recording too. Every second was evidence. Howard Mills walked up first, windbreaker zipped, face calm like he was arriving for a meeting. Behind him the big shaved headman carried a clipboard. Two other men hovered near the truck, glancing around, scanning for witnesses. Howard smiled as if nothing had happened. "Good morning," he said. "We're here to execute a lawful process." Reverend Collins's voice stayed even. "This is church property. You are not welcome here." Howard's smile didn't fade. "Ms. Reed's belongings will be secured at the curb today. We're offering a simple alternative, sign the acknowledgement, and we give her 30 days to relocate with dignity." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You forged a deed." Howard's eyes flicked to Daniel's phone, recording. "Sir, if you continue making defamatory statements—" Jenna stepped forward, calm and sharp. "Howard Mills," she said. "Tideway Capital Services, Wilmington address. You've been served notice of an emergency injunction petition. There is a fraud investigation underway, there is a notary confession, and we have your threat voicemails." Howard blinked once. "That's unfortunate," he said smoothly. "We're proceeding." Jenna lifted the papers. "These documents are being filed with the court this morning. If you proceed with removal before the judge rules, you expose your company to criminal and civil liability." The shaved-head man scoffed. "You lawyers talk too much." Howard raised a hand, still smiling. "We're not here to argue. We're here to collect what's owed." Daniel's voice stayed low. "Nothing is owed. You stole it." Howard's smile thinned. "People say many things when they're emotional." Daniel felt his hands curl into fists, but he forced them open. Anger is loud. Love is steady. He could hear his mother's old words like a lifeline. "And you, what would you do when predators stand at a church door and speak like they own your family's life? Would you scream, or would you stay steady and let the law and the light do the work?" Before Daniel could speak again, a patrol car rolled into view, lights flashing. Then another. Deputy Garrison stepped out, followed by Investigator Ortega. Howard's smile flickered for the first time. Garrison walked up, calm and firm. "Howard Mills, you've been formally warned," he said. "You and your crew need to leave church property now." Howard held up his hands. "We're conducting lawful repossession on private property." Ortega stepped forward. "Show me your court order," he said. Howard's eyes narrowed slightly. "We don't need one. Title's in our name." Ortega nodded once. "Title is under fraud investigation," he said. "And until the court rules, any attempt to remove a resident or their belongings could constitute illegal self-help eviction." Howard's jaw tightened. "She's not a resident anymore," Jenna cut in. "She is the victim," she said, "and she is under protective services. You've been notified." Howard's calm slipped just a notch. "Then bring her out," he snapped. "Let her say it to my face." Reverend Collins didn't move. "She will not be used for your intimidation." Howard stepped closer, voice lowering. "You think cameras scare me? Towns forget. People get tired. Families fold." Daniel stepped forward, not threatening, just present. "Not this one," he said. Howard stared at him a moment, then turned to his crew. "Go to the house," he said quietly. "Start staging." Daniel's stomach dropped. "No," he said, turning to Garrison. "They're going to Cedar Bay right now." Garrison immediately keyed his radio. "Units to Cedar Bay Road. Possible illegal eviction attempt. Move now." Ortega turned to Howard. "If you send them there, you're escalating." Howard's eyes were flat. "We're finishing." The crew moved fast. The white box truck started rolling out of the lot. Daniel couldn't just watch. He turned to Jenna. "We go," he said. Jenna nodded. "We go with law enforcement," she replied. Evelyn's voice came from the hallway behind them. She'd stepped closer despite Collins's warning, drawn by the noise like a moth to a flame. "Danny," she whispered, eyes wide. "My house." Daniel walked to her, cupped her cheek gently. "Stay here," he said. "Please. I need you safe." Evelyn's lips trembled. "I want to stand with you." Daniel swallowed. "You standing safe is you standing with me," he said. Reverend Collins guided her back, firm but kind. Daniel and Jenna climbed into Daniel's car and followed the patrol cars as they sped toward Cedar Bay. The fog had lifted, leaving the town exposed in full daylight, exactly what Tideway wanted. When they turned onto Cedar Bay Road, Daniel saw the white box truck already parked at the curb. The crew had started unloading empty plastic bins like they were preparing to pack someone's life like trash. A small crowd had formed, neighbors, curious, whispering. Mrs. Larkin stood near her porch, hand over her mouth, eyes wet. Howard's crew pointed at the house like it was already theirs. Daniel felt his chest tighten. The humiliation was happening in real time. He stepped out of the car and walked straight to the truck. Phone recording, Jenna beside him, Deputy Garrison and Ortega approaching fast. "Stop!" Daniel said loudly, not screaming, just commanding. "Step away from that house." One of the crew members smirked. "Make us." Then Ortega's voice cut through. "Everybody freeze. This is an active investigation. You are not touching property until we verify legal authority." Howard arrived behind them, face tight now. "You're interfering," he snapped. Ortega held up a hand. "You're under notice," he replied. "And given the evidence, I'm now treating this as potential criminal fraud." Howard's gaze flicked to the neighbors watching. The cameras, the patrol cars, the attention. For the first time, the light was on him. Daniel looked around and saw faces that had known Evelyn for decades. He saw the church ladies. He saw Mrs. Larkin. He saw shame shifting away from Evelyn and landing where it belonged. Howard's voice lowered, forced calm. "Fine," he said through his teeth. "You want to play this out? We'll play." He turned toward Daniel, eyes cold. "You just made a powerful enemy." Daniel's voice didn't shake. "No," he said. "You made yourself one." And as the patrol cars held Tideway's crew in place, Daniel realized the final fight wasn't going to be won by one brave moment. It was going to be won by persistence, by paper trails, by witnesses, by a town that finally stopped looking away. But the day still had one more twist waiting, because while Daniel stood there blocking the eviction, his phone buzzed with a new call. Travis. Daniel stared at the name, heart pounding, and answered. Travis's voice was raw. "Danny, they're going to kill me." Daniel's hand tightened around the phone. "Where are you?" he demanded, turning slightly away from the crowd so nobody could hear. Travis's breathing came fast, jagged. "At the marina," he whispered. "By the old bait shop." "Danny, listen. Howard isn't the top. He's just the face. There's a guy, they call him Mr. Bishop. I messed up. I gave them names. I gave them everything. They know I talked." Daniel's mind moved fast, cold and clear. "Travis, stay where there are people. Don't go somewhere quiet. Don't get in any car with anyone." Travis made a broken sound. "They're already here." Daniel's stomach dropped. He looked over at Jenna, who was speaking to Ortega, and lifted a hand to get her attention. Jenna saw his face and went still. "Danny," Travis whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want Mom hurt. I didn't want you dragged into this." Daniel swallowed hard. "Then help me stop it," he said. "Tell me what you know. Names, where they meet, accounts, anything." Travis's voice lowered. "There's a storage unit off Highway 12, Unit 47. They keep papers there. Hard drives. They said if anyone ever came for them, they'd burn it." Daniel's heart pounded. Who has the key? I do, Travis said. But, Danny, I don't think I'm leaving here. Daniel's jaw clenched. Yes, you are, he said, voice hard. You will not die because you were weak. You're going to make it right. Travis's breathing stuttered. I see them, he whispered. Black jacket. Bald guy. He's walking toward me. Daniel's blood went cold. Put the phone in your pocket and keep the line open, he said quickly. Walk toward the diner on the corner. Stay under the cameras. Travis didn't answer, but Daniel heard footsteps on wooden planks, the faint slap of water against pilings, then a voice. Low. Close. Travis Reed, the voice said. You've been busy. Travis froze. Daniel could hear it. The silence. The fear. Who's that with you? The man asked. Travis tried to sound normal. Nobody. A soft laugh. Nobody? Then the man's voice sharpened. Pull your phone out. Daniel's stomach twisted. Travis, don't! But it was too late. Travis's pocket rustled. The line filled with a harsh breath, then another voice. Howard's smooth tone. Well, well, Howard said. Daniel Reed. This is getting personal. Daniel's chest tightened. You're threatening my brother now, he said. Howard chuckled. No, your brother threatened himself the moment he tried to be a hero. Jenna grabbed Daniel's arm. What's happening? Daniel covered the phone for half a second. They have Travis, he whispered. Marina, now. Jenna's eyes flashed. She turned and waved Ortega over. Urgent. Howard's voice returned, calm as ice. Here's what's going to happen, Daniel. You're going to stop making noise. You're going to stop involving law enforcement. And you're going to stop trying to embarrass us. Daniel's voice stayed steady, but his heart was pounding. Or what? Howard didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Or your brother's going to vanish, and your mother will still lose her home. That's the part you don't understand. You can't win against people who don't care about rules. Daniel's hands shook, but he forced them still. He looked at the neighbors watching, the crew frozen, the police present. The world was in daylight. That was his weapon. He turned his phone camera on without saying a word, keeping the call active. Howard continued, unaware. You're a good son, he said mockingly, but you're out of your depth. Give us the lockbox. Give us the recordings, and we'll let you walk away with your mother's dignity intact. Daniel's jaw tightened. You already tried to take her dignity, he said. It didn't work. Howard sighed like Daniel was a child. Then we'll take something else. Daniel spoke louder, not for Howard, so Jenna and Ortega could hear every word. You're demanding evidence be turned over under threat, he said clearly. You're threatening harm to my brother. Ortega's face hardened. He gestured to a deputy. Trace the call, he ordered. Howard paused. Are you? Daniel didn't stop. This call is being recorded, he said. Howard's tone changed sharp now. You can't record. I can record threats, Daniel replied, and I can hand them to a prosecutor. The line went quiet for a split second. Then a different voice came on, deeper, slower, with a southern drawl that sounded almost polite. Daniel Reed, the voice said. You like to stand tall in front of your neighbors. Daniel's blood chilled. Who is this? The man breathed like he enjoyed the moment. People call me Bishop. Jenna mouthed, Oh my God. Bishop's voice stayed low and smooth. Your brother is trembling in front of me, he said softly. And you're still acting brave. That's almost admirable. Daniel forced himself to breathe. Let him go. Bishop chuckled. I might, he said, if you do one small thing. Daniel's stomach tightened. What? Bring your mother to the house, Bishop said calmly. Just once. Let her confirm, on video, that she sold willingly. Then you can take her and disappear. No more court, no more cops, no more church. Daniel's chest felt like it was collapsing. They wanted Evelyn on camera. They wanted a clean narrative. They wanted to erase fraud with humiliation. Daniel looked at the house, the neighbors, the police. He imagined Evelyn standing there, forced to lie, forced to hand her dignity over again. He imagined her shrinking, breaking. And he realized something. This wasn't just about money. It was about power. He steadied his voice. No, he said. Bishop's tone didn't change. Then your brother goes into the water tonight, he said softly, and nobody finds him. Daniel felt his vision blur, rage rising like fire. Then Evelyn's voice echoed in his memory. We don't become the storm. He swallowed, forced his voice calm. You're on a recorded line threatening murder, he said. You will be found. Bishop sighed. Maybe, he said, but by then, you'll be grieving. Ortega leaned in. Keep him talking, he whispered to Daniel. Daniel took a breath and asked the only question that could buy time. If you're so powerful, he said slowly, why do you need my mother's voice? Why do you need video? Bishop laughed, low. Because the court likes stories, he said, and stories need a face. Daniel nodded, as if he understood. So Howard isn't even the owner, he said, stalling. He's just your messenger. Bishop's voice warmed with arrogance. Howard is useful, he said. But you're right. Ownership is layered. Ortega's eyes sharpened. Layered, he mouthed. Shells. Daniel kept his tone steady. What's the name of the holding company, then? He pressed. Who am I really dealing with? Bishop paused, then spoke, proud. Harbor Crest Holdings, he said. Remember it. Jenna's fingers flew over her phone, searching. Ortega gestured again. Trace, trace, trace. Daniel kept stalling. And you're calling from where, Bishop? He asked softly. You sound like you're close to the water. Bishop chuckled. Smart boy, he said, but not smart enough. Suddenly the line filled with movement. Shuffling, a muffled grunt. Travis cried out, Danny! Then a slap. A wet sound. Bishop's voice returned, calm. Your brother is learning silence. Daniel's heart pounded so hard it hurt. Touch him again and I swear. Bishop cut him off, still polite. You swear what? He asked softly. That you'll call the police? They're already there, aren't they? Daniel's jaw clenched. Bishop knew. He was watching. Then Daniel heard something that made his blood turn to ice. A faint chime, like a church bell. A recording. Bishop was near Port Mason, near the church, near Evelyn. Daniel snapped his head up, scanning the street, and he saw it. A black car parked down the road, half hidden behind a line of trees. No lights, just watching. Daniel's stomach dropped, because while they held Travis at the marina, they had eyes on Evelyn too. Bishop's voice came back, soft as a whisper. Look outside, Daniel, he said. You can't protect everyone. Daniel's hand shook, but he forced himself steady. He looked at Jenna, at Ortega, at the deputies, and he knew what he had to do next. He had to make Tideway choose a target, and he had to do it now. He lowered his voice into the phone. Bishop, he said slowly, you want me? Fine, take me. But you leave my mother out of this. Bishop chuckled. Now you're thinking like a man, he said. And then he said the words that would break Daniel's world open. Meet us at Unit 47, Bishop murmured. Alone. Or your mother prays over 2 sons instead of 1. The call ended. Daniel stood there, phone in his hand, the sound of the disconnected line buzzing like a wound. Jenna grabbed his arm. No, she said firmly. You're not going alone. Ortega's eyes were hard. That's a trap, he said. Daniel looked toward the church, chest tight, then toward the house, then toward the road. He thought of Evelyn's hands, calloused, gentle. He thought of her proverb, anger is loud, love is steady. He swallowed and made his decision. He wasn't going alone. But he was going. Because if Unit 47 held the proof, it could destroy Bishop's entire operation. And it could end the nightmare for Evelyn, and for every other elderly person Tideway had targeted. Daniel turned to Ortega. We go now, he said. And we do it the right way. Ortega nodded. We do it with warrants, he said. And we do it fast. But just as they moved to leave, another scream erupted from the street. A neighbor pointed toward the house. They're inside, she shouted. They're in her house. Daniel's blood ran cold. Because Tideway had split their force. One team was trapping Travis. Another was breaking into Evelyn's home, right in front of the whole town. And the final confrontation had just begun. Daniel didn't think. He moved. He ran up the porch steps with his phone recording, the neighbors' voices blurring behind him. The front door was ajar. The chain lock dangled, snapped. A cold wave rolled through his chest. Inside, the house smelled like stale smoke and freshly splintered wood. Drawers were pulled out, cushions tossed. The family photos on the wall were crooked, like someone had brushed past them without care. Deputy Garrison shoved past him. "Recall!" he barked, hand near his holster. "Stay behind me." A thud came from Evelyn's bedroom. They moved down the hallway, fast and quiet. At the doorway, Daniel froze. 2 men in gloves were inside. One was stuffing Evelyn's quilt and pill organizer into a box. The other was ripping papers from her dresser drawer and shoving them into a backpack like he knew exactly what he wanted. Garrison's voice cut through. "Hands where I can see them!" One man bolted toward the window. Garrison grabbed him and slammed him against the wall. The other tried to push past Daniel. Daniel didn't swing. He planted himself in the doorway, steady. "Not through," he said. A second deputy tackled the man into the hall. In seconds, both intruders were cuffed on Evelyn's bedroom floor. Investigator Ortega stepped in, eyes scanning the mess. "Who sent you?" The man with the backpack sneered. "Abandoned property. We're just cleaning." Ortega's tone went ice cold. "This is burglary," he said. "And if you're tied to Tideway, you just turned a fraud case into a criminal one." Daniel bent, breathing hard, and saw it. The blue coffee tin lay on the floor, lid off. Evelyn's letters were scattered. Some were torn. They weren't only trying to take her things, they were trying to erase the story. Daniel scooped the envelopes up with shaking hands, then looked at Ortega. "They're hunting evidence," he said. Jenna lifted her phone, already recording. "Then we make it public," she replied. "They use silence. We use light." Outside, neighbors gathered closer. Not whispering now, watching, filming, angry. Mrs. Larkin stood by her porch with tears on her face, but her shoulders were straight. Howard Mills appeared at the sidewalk, jaw tight. "Those men weren't authorized," he snapped. "This is a misunderstanding." Ortega held up the backpack of papers. "Then explain why they targeted Ms. Reed's documents," he demanded. "Explain why they broke her lock." Howard's mouth opened, then closed. His calm slipped just enough for the crowd to see what he really was. Garrison raised his voice for everyone. "No one is removing property today. This home is under active investigation." Howard's eyes flicked over the patrol cars and the phones. The shame he wanted for Evelyn was landing on him instead. He turned and walked back to his car. Ortega turned to Daniel. "Your brother mentioned a storage unit?" he said. "Unit 47, Highway 12. Daniel replied, throat tight. Ortega nodded once. "With the threats, the notary statement, and a burglary tied to the same operation, I can get an emergency warrant," he said, "and we can go after the whole machine." Daniel's phone buzzed again. Travis shared his location. "The marina." "Please," Daniel whispered. Not too late. They found Travis behind stacked crab traps, zip-tied, bruised, shaking. His lip was split. His eyes were swollen like he'd been crying and trying not to. "Danny," he rasped. Daniel dropped to his knees beside him. The anger in his chest didn't vanish, but it finally had a place to go. Protection, not punishment. A deputy cut the ties. Travis winced and held his ribs. "Unit 47 has everything," Travis whispered. "Fake deeds, IDs, scripts, videos. They scare elders into reading lines." Daniel's stomach turned. He pictured Evelyn, forced to lie on camera, and felt something harden inside him. Ortega moved fast. The warrant came through within the hour. At the storage facility, the lock on Unit 47 snapped under the cutter. Inside were boxes labeled with addresses, folders of documents, stacks of copied signatures, notary stamps, and hard drives wrapped in cloth. A cheap printer sat in the corner like a weapon disguised as office equipment. Daniel opened one folder and saw his mother's home listed like a file number. 114 Cedar Bay Road. Reed. Copies of Evelyn's signature in different styles. A note in plain handwriting. "If family resists, apply shame. If son returns, isolate mother." Daniel's hands shook. "They did this to other people," he whispered. Jenna's eyes were wet. Then we end it for all of them, she said. By that evening, the judge granted an emergency stay. The eviction attempt was halted. The fraudulent deed was frozen. The DA opened a criminal fraud case. The hard drives were seized. Tideway's crew was removed from the street in handcuffs. But the moment Daniel remembered most wasn't the patrol lights or the warrants. It was the quiet in the parsonage. Evelyn sat at the table with her Bible open. Travis stood in the doorway, bruised, trembling, smaller than the brother Daniel had feared. His hands were open at his sides like he didn't trust himself to touch anything. "Mom," Travis said, voice cracking. "I'm sorry." Evelyn's eyes filled. "Why did you turn into someone who scares me?" she whispered. Travis sobbed. "I got angry at my life," he admitted, "and I poured it onto you. I told myself I was protecting you, but I was protecting my pride, my lies." Evelyn rose slowly and touched his cheek, gentle but careful, like love was relearning trust. "I forgive you," she said softly, "not because you earned it, but because I don't want hate living in my heart." Travis choked on a breath. "Can I come home?" Evelyn's voice stayed kind, but firm. "No," she said. "Forgiveness is not permission. You will face what you did, and you will earn trust the slow way." Travis nodded, tears falling. "Yes, ma'am." Daniel exhaled, feeling the tight knot in his chest loosen for the first time in days. This was what his mother's faith looked like, remembering mercy while holding a boundary. Daniel took leave from his job in Charlotte and stayed in Port Mason. He fixed the porch step, patched the leaky faucet, replaced the loose shutter that used to tap like a warning. He organized Evelyn's medicine, drove her to appointments, and sat with her on the porch swing at dusk while the salt air softened the edges of the day. And when the town asked how to help, Daniel gave them something that turned pain into purpose. Through Harbor Light Church, they started the Blue Tin Pantry, named after Evelyn's dented coffee tin, the place where love had been hidden, saved, and nearly stolen. It began with food shelves for seniors too proud to ask, then rides to doctors, then one legal aid night a month, where Jenna taught people how to check their deed records and warned them about pressure signatures. On a Sunday, Reverend Collins unveiled a simple plaque in the fellowship hall, the Blue Tin Pantry, in honor of Evelyn Reed, who taught us that love is steady. Evelyn didn't want applause. She just squeezed Daniel's hand and whispered, "Thank you, Lord." Years passed. Tideway's network collapsed. Families in nearby counties got homes back. Howard took a deal. Bishop was finally arrested when the digital trail from Unit 47 led investigators straight to him. One late afternoon, 5 years later, Daniel sat with Evelyn on the porch swing. Children from the church ran across the yard carrying grocery bags, learning kindness with their hands. Evelyn leaned her head on Daniel's shoulder. "You know what I learned?" she whispered. Daniel smiled. "What?" "It's never too late to come home," she said. "But you have to come home with your eyes open." Daniel reached into the blue tin and pulled out the old photograph again. "My miracles," and set it on his knee. "I'm sorry I was late," he murmured. Evelyn squeezed his hand. "You were on time for forgiveness," she said. "And that's what matters." If this story stayed with you, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Daniel's place? Protect your mother first, or chase your brother first? And if you know an elder who's being isolated or pressured, share this story. Love is steady, but silence can be dangerous. Because regret is heavy, but repentance, real repentance, can build something new. And sometimes the strongest forgiveness is the one that comes with a boundary.